What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the show. We are your hosts, Chase and Myles, and we are at the Lucky Duck. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Myles, who is sitting here with us today?
You guys ever heard of Shaun White?
Oh,
It's not Shaun White, but pretty close. We have someone who traveled across the country to come see us. He runs a business called ZachSellsNaples.com.
boom.
Best realtor in Naples, Florida. If you're ever there, need a house, this is our brother Zach.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Let's give a cheers.
Yeah, what are we
Let's
drinking?
just get this started.
Sidecar?
Alright, boom. It's a sidecar. We have Vince in the studio, good friend, bartender, made us this awesome drink. Thanks, Vince.
Thanks, Vince.
Thank you.
Now we're ready to give it. I'm gonna give it the first sip. I'm gonna
I
some
think I already
ASMR.
did it. I did it for you.
Oh, actually, that's pretty good.
You know, you would be good on the Deep Throating podcast.
Yeah, there's a podcast out there. Our friend Matt runs it.
Did you know that?
No,
Yeah,
I didn't know
where he
that.
deep throats random objects, and the audience has to guess what it is.
It's called the Throat Podcast.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Shout out to our friend Matt.
You should listen.
He's like, no comment on that. So yeah, you flew out here
I did.
from Florida. What did we do this weekend?
Did a lot of snowboarding.
Hell yeah, we
Over
did.
50 miles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
50 miles. And how many times have you even gone?
3 or 4 times.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
So that was a whole long 2 days, but I could go a whole nother day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be
definitely.
fun.
I tapped out last night.
Oh, we did night boarding.
Night boarding for the first time.
Yeah.
Night boarding is a little sketch, especially the way up. There's definitely some moments where we were on the lift in the pitch black darkness, and I was just like, I don't know, this is a good idea. I don't know if we
Yeah.
should be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, whoever let people do this at night, it's some risky. But the best part about it is there's nobody on the mountain, so it's like going down your favorite run without.
Yeah. So if you're someone who commonly crashes into other people,
I did it once. Just
A couple
once.
people in this room are guilty of doing that. Let's just put it that
then
way.
this is the best time to go.
Yeah, it's kind of crowded there, though. What's your like from going? So Zach, you've been here for snowboarding before, but you went to Loveland.
Right.
What's like the biggest difference in your mind between the two places, like Keystone versus?
I think Keystone just had more, probably more runs, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And then a lot more variety to choose from. And then the other thing is it was nice having like the town below.
Yeah.
So you had things to do besides just snowboarding.
So it had a good vibe to it.
Yeah, a really good vibe.
It was like
So
other people are excited all around, having
Yeah.
breakfast, dinner.
you kind of had that
drinking.
resort feel to it.
Yeah.
In addition to just like snowboarding.
That's my favorite part about it. I think when I first like got there, I was just like, oh, this is like next level. This is like
Yeah.
there's a whole community surrounded by this like mountain. We didn't even get to go down into the other part, the other village. I mean, we went on the Peru run, which is so there's like two
Yeah.
main big sections of it at the base. But
Yeah, they have a whole nother area that we didn't explore.
and they have a Starbucks there, you know?
Thank God.
Yeah.
That line though, on a Saturday,
Oh yeah.
to get your Starbucks.
We could do without the mask too.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still enforcing masks up there. It's so weird. The rest of the world, even the CDC has moved on, and they're still very adamant about the mask thing.
Very,
It's so
very
weird.
serious.
Yeah, they take their masks a little too serious.
And I think it's
Yeah,
funny how it's like to go in this building, you have to show your vaccine card or information,
Yeah.
but to go in this one, you don't have to. It's
Yeah,
cool.
they're literally right next door. It's like, no mask needed.
Okay.
I mean, hey, that's if that's the rules, that's the rules.
Yeah.
We're saying like, but they're probably not going to change it. They're too late in the season to like expect employees to now just do something completely different.
Yeah.
So it's probably easier on them to just keep doing it.
Yeah, and then it's just like don't enforce it. I mean, it wasn't really enforced. Like you could pretty much just walk around
Right.
without one on. People
Yeah.
wouldn't say anything. But next season it'll be gone.
We hope.
We hope.
Yeah. So how's Florida?
Florida's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sunny?
it's you got beautiful weather year round, and it's just it's a great place to live. Where I think most people in the country have really figured out that Florida is an area to go year round and enjoy the area. You don't have to worry about snow, which I can tell you, coming here, it's nice to be able to leave Colorado and go back to 85-degree weather, and
sure.
and not have to worry about scraping your windshields or
Or
doing stuff
shoveling.
that seems very foreign to me.
That's true.
really funny.
There's like 4 car washes per week
Yeah.
required during the wintertime here. 'Cause-
And
Or you just don't wash your car.
yeah. No, literally, that has been kind of my mantra lately.
sometimes you can't. It'll be like -2 degrees out. The next day it snows. Then it's again 0 degrees out. The next day it snows, and it's like
Yeah.
you can't wash your car.
February is that's the month. Because then you start to get a different kind of snow in March. It's like more of a heavier snow.
Right.
It's like more dense. And then, and then it's just kind of stops. And then, I don't know, springtime here is like the best
Yeah.
kind of season.
Yeah, we really don't have like seasons like you guys have.
Yeah.
So,
That was one thing we learned when we moved here.
yeah.
It's like, wow.
And
Damn,
even when we have
fall's
our
looking-
rainy season, it's nice. It's blue skies, and you get your summer showers maybe 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening
Every single day.
every single day, and then it's
Yeah.
gone. It's short lived.
And the humidity, though.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be that big of an impact when you fly back tomorrow.
Well,
Like getting out the plane,
I hope
feeling
so.
that.
I might be able to feel like I can breathe again.
Yeah. My lips are a bit chapped from
Yeah.
about 2 days
Yeah,
out in the
and your
mountains.
skin just starts to feel
Yeah.
very dehydrated.
That's
after a
true.
while. If you live here for a while, I think you get used to it. But if you come in here every couple of days, it's not. But I know it's healthy to live in Florida with that humidity. Keeps your skin very hydrated, and then as you get older, it won't wrinkle as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I would take a while for me to get used to. Even being here for the couple days, my voice has changed, and I can tell the dry air is affecting it.
You get
Yeah.
your forward nosebleeds out of the way, and then you're a real Coloradan. You know.
Every time I used to visit Chase, I would get a nosebleed, like every time, and then I haven't had one in a long time now.
Yeah, I'm surprised none of you guys.
Yeah, that doesn't happen when
the
you go
three
to
of you
Florida.
guys. Yeah. No.
You just feel a little more moist than usual.
A little.
Depends on the year.
Yeah. Or a time, at least.
Yeah, I know. Florida is really good for retirement too because of the taxes, right?
There is a tax advantages. I mean, you'll see people who own businesses throughout the United States who will sometimes claim their businesses in Florida, just to get away from some of the state income taxes and so forth. So there's a lot of perks to it. We do tend to have lower taxes in general, whether that be property taxes. We don't have state income taxes. So it becomes kind of a, not only just from a climate perspective, but from a financial perspective. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people come down and retire. They're tired of tax bills. And it's often when I'm selling real estate and so forth, and I'm meeting new people from other areas of the country, it ends up being it's very interesting, I should say, talking to different people that are from maybe California or New York, some of the bigger inner cities and so forth. You often almost kind of laugh and joke when they talk about, tax bills and so forth, because I'm going with what you guys are used to and so forth. It's almost a joke.
Yeah.
Because it's such a fraction of what they're used to paying.
When you're retired, you technically don't have any income, right?
Well, you technically, it just depends, how your tax structure is, but
Yeah.
you could still have income sources coming in.
I
From
think when you're
different
pulling from your if you put into a 401k, when you're pulling out of that, it's going to be based on the current taxes where you live.
Yeah, depending
if-
on whether you've done an IRA or a
So
401k, correct?
I think if you lived in Florida your whole life, put into your 401k, moved to California, you're probably paying California state income tax on that, right?
I'm not sure.
I think that's how that works, because I know that retirement is where you retire is a huge thing. People
Yeah.
talk about
Really?
Massachusetts is one of the worst places to retire in because of the taxes it has on
And the implications with
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I think Florida is one of the better places because of the no state income tax.
Yeah.
That's pretty evident we always joked when we were younger that there were so many older people in Florida. I think that's probably changed a lot now.
It's changed in a lot of areas. I mean, when you grow up in a place like Naples, Florida, where traditionally speaking, it's always been an area for retirement, and it's been a retirement community. It's interesting how that's changed over the last few decades. It used to be an area growing up as a kid where you'd go, hey, how the heck do I get out of here?
Yeah.
And that's really changed over the last couple decades. We have a lot more industry in Naples, and medical being one of them. That's a huge industry. Real estate's always been an industry in Naples, but when you're looking at some big companies that have come into the area, it now creates job opportunities for a younger crowd. And when you're in an area that you realize, a lot of my friends moved out of the area, and a lot of them came back, because they realized the grass wasn't greener on the other side. They realized that it's hard to tell when you grow up in such a nice area. It's hard to understand how good you got it until you move away or you see other things, in the country. And you realize, wow, I grew up in a really nice place.
So you should, when you grow up and you don't have the type of money you need to like enjoy Naples, it definitely
it's
paints a
definitely an
different
area
perspective.
that's can be expensive to live in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it offers a lot of opportunity, whether it be a lifestyle that you want to live. It's a huge boating community. We've got resort style amenities throughout the area. Every restaurant you can choose from. So when you have so many things, around you to utilize with the area, it becomes a really nice place to live and enjoy.
Is there an Arby's there still?
I think there is still an Arby's.
Well, all right.
Do you miss the Arby's?
I might come back. No, I just don't go anywhere that's too far from an Arby's. That's my rule. Like where we were staying, there's an Arby's about 10 minutes down the road. I had to make sure.
I think you could still be in luck.
The places that are too far from Arby's are unsafe places, and I will not be part of the community.
Oh no.
General rule.
Now I know why you moved away from Naples.
There's more Arby's per capita here.
It's not my first thought.
Yeah. So we went hunting for prairie dogs earlier.
We did.
Yeah.
I used to have a couple prairie dogs, actually.
Yeah. How
Did
was
you
that?
catch them?
So mine were a lot more tame.
How did you get? How did the thought of even owning prairie dogs come to be?
We actually ran into a exotic breeder in Naples that sells all different kind of exotic animals, and they happened to sell prairie dogs, and it seemed like a neat thought at the time. And
Because you wanted a dog, right? But you were like, maybe too much commitment.
I mean, maybe, but it was kind of a unique experience. I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something different.
Are they were they playful or cuddly at all?
A little bit. They took a while to tame.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an animal that's takes a lot of energy to be able to become domesticated.
So basically, they live in a cage. Is
Yeah.
that in kind of like an oversized hamster, like
I mean,
a guinea
the best
pig?
way to
almost?
have is probably outdoors where they can actually dig holes and do their normal thing.
Mm.
And then build a whole community in your
Yeah,
backyard.
exactly. Next thing you know, stuff's caving in.
So they become familiar with you, or they become tame, and then they're kind of tame with everyone.
They're pretty tame with everybody.
Yeah.
After that, yeah.
I feel like if you let them in the backyard, they would try to dig and they would just hit water immediately.
Or lime rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably close.
Yeah.
So I think the craziest thing was moving into a gated community and your neighbors going, "What are those things?"
Oh yeah. Is there any like HOA rules against
there
exotic
is.
pets?
There
Did
is.
you have to hide it and stuff?
So
'Cause I don't know.
it's not
if
one of
mine
things
does.
where you come out and go, "Hey, I got prairie dogs."
Yeah, exactly. You're like, they're guinea pigs. Calm down. Yeah.
Except a little smarter.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It's basically a squirrel without its tail.
That's what I was thinking. That's what it seems
Yeah.
like, right? And they like, I don't know. So, are they vocal? Do they make a lot of
Mhm.
like noise? It's like a scream, or what is it like?
Yeah, I mean they make a lot of different noises. They're one of those animals that likes to alert the other ones in the colony. So when you have two, they're very vocal with each other. You have to buy them in pairs too. That was the thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're very social animals, so
So they'll be lonely if not.
it will be lonely. And matter of fact, after we had them, for about 8 years after the first one passed away. The other one didn't take much longer afterwards.
Oh yeah. Were they both like the same sex or different
I
sexes?
have no idea.
Really?
Couldn't tell you.
It never populated, right? So
Yeah.
So probably.
He had to get his fixed. It's a law.
wow,
That's
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah, we have. I mean, you have some like you could walk down the road.
Yeah,
And
they're right
catch one.
outside.
Yeah, except I probably wouldn't grab one.
No.
Claw
Yeah.
your hands up.
In fact, for a minute in northern Denver, there was a whole population near the Rocky Mountain Arsenal where they detected the Black Plague in this like large community of prairie dogs, and so they had to like fence off the entire area. It was right next to the Dick's Sporting Goods arena or stadium, which is where like the professional soccer MLS team plays in Denver. And so for the longest time, they had, when you'd park there to go to a game, they'd have signs up on the perimeter saying, warning, like, Black Plague detected in, like, this area or whatever. It was the weirdest thing, yeah.
Well,
That's crazy.
hopefully mine didn't have the black.
But I just thought it was such a weird thing, like, something that you learn in history books,
Yeah.
like medieval England.
Yeah, that's true.
But it makes sense because I think back then they were transmitted.
Yeah,
at
they were
least
actually
through the
banning them as pets for a while because of that.
because of
Yeah.
illness and stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you create the coronavirus from your
Holy
prairie
shit.
I
dogs?
mean, you never know.
What if that was
Patient zero.
What if like they find out that in Wuhan it was a prairie dog?
Did you fuck your prairie dog?
No comment on that. Yeah, so
It wasn't a pangolin, so that's okay.
That's true.
That's cool. Yeah, so I actually had a few questions for you about how to buy a house because everyone keeps telling me that there's no houses to buy.
So today, if you don't have cash, you're not buying a home. No, I'm just kidding. But it feels that way.
Yeah, it does.
It's one of the things that's probably been pretty challenging to buyers today is when you're dealing with multiple offers and you'll have a awesome home that comes on the market. The challenges of competing, in the market. That's probably been, and it's very frustrating. It's frustrating being a realtor in the business. And it's very frustrating as, being a consumer, that's looking to purchase a home. It's even when you're cash and you have plenty of cash to purchase, it's still very competitive in today's market. So it's the matter of prepping yourself, getting a good realtor that knows how to compete in this market. And there's different strategies, to use depending on what kind of, resources you have as a buyer in today's market. When you're financing, a home, it's making sure you have all your ducks in a row, so that when you do find the right home, you have the biggest and best chance of competing in today's market.
And the housing market's been pretty hot since
It's been awesome.
like 2015, right?
I mean, it's been on an uptrend pretty much since we came out of the last, crash in the market, and it's been a heck of a ride.
But then in the last 1 to 2 years, it was like
It's skyrocketed.
crazy.
Yeah, and you have multiple factors that are happening with that. You have really good and bad things that came from COVID. And that's not just real estate in general. Some people's businesses grew, other people's businesses got hurt, right? So when you look at, there was multiple factors that really fueled the market for the real estate market, I should say. You had, especially when you're dealing with like Florida and so forth, what I'm used to, dealing with in that market, you had low interest rates that were, historically never seen this low. I mean, it's when money becomes that cheap to borrow, it's easy to spend it, which fueled the real estate market on top of, we have our general baby boomer market that continues to come down in the Southwest Florida, which, from a retirement standpoint, that market's always been there, and it's always, been something that has fueled growth in our market. But when you add COVID on top of it, you have, areas in the country that are being ran, whether it be politically, that's hurt your business or decisions that have been made that have made it difficult to live in other areas. And you see places like Florida where it's been, an area that's been easier to live and go about your business, and make choices for yourself. Almost becomes kind of a safe haven where people kind of flocked to the area.
Yeah.
So now you have that movement. You have historical low interest rates that have fueled it on top of, a normal retirement movement that continues to come in Southwest Florida. So it's really fueled it very fast.
Are the interest rates low because of what the Fed has done to try
Yes.
to help the economy?
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, when you have like quantitative easing and so forth, that's been fueling the market. I mean, it's historically, like I said, we're at low interest rates. So when you're flooding the market with money, it becomes, when you're paying $3,000 in interest for every 100,000 you're borrowing, roughly. I mean, that's amazing.
And they did that back during the other, a little slightly after the last housing.
Yeah, I mean,
crash, right?
it's been throughout the process, but it's been, the rates weren't that low until, over the last couple of years, I should say. And they've been low, but it's been a constant, downtrending as far as the interest rates to the point to where, hit historic levels, which was awesome for people. It gave people opportunity. I couldn't imagine, when you look back in, the 80s and so forth, where you were paying, 13, 14, 15% interest rates. I mean, could you imagine spending $15,000 in interest for every 100,000 you had to borrow? I mean, that'd be crazy, but that's where it was.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, depending on what rent is in the area, it could almost make it not, make sense to buy it.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. If you were in a position where you could purchase a home, and especially now, it's become more advantageous if you're in a position where you think you'll be around in the area for a while and it makes sense to purchase. I mean, if you're thinking that this is a temporary thing, obviously maybe renting might be the best option for you.
So if you're one of the big things that plagues or stands in the way of like a younger generation buying a home is competing with older generational money, right?
Somewhat, but it may not. There's a huge younger crowd that has money. There's a lot of money that's been made in the stock market. So there's a lot of cash that has come from that. And then there's a lot of families that may be giving other family members, whether it's your kids, grandparents giving. So there's a lot of opportunity that there may be a younger generation that actually has access to cash as well. So it's not just the older generation. Although a lot of that, because of it being a retirement age, they tend to have cash. Correct?
That's the thing. So what would you recommend to a younger couple who doesn't necessarily have enough capital to compete with people who do? How do you encourage them to remain competitive?
There's a lot of challenges with that, and you're having to give up things, that you normally wouldn't have to, and it's very frustrating because some of these things are things that you necessarily wouldn't want to give up, that you're having to, whether that be reducing inspection periods, maybe getting rid of your inspection period altogether, coming up with non-refundable money. These are things that you don't like to hear as a potential buyer that's looking to purchase a home. But the reality of it is you may have to do some of those things to compete with cash. One of the other challenges you're running into is you may be able to finance a purchase on a home, but you might have a seller that feels, even though you're coming in with a good price on the home, and it might be the highest priced offer out of multiple offers, and they might still not accept your offer because they're afraid of their home not appraising. And if your home doesn't appraise and you're contingent on financing, then you might be back to square one, and that seller's having to put their home back on the market when they could have just taken a cash deal. So when you're dealing with that, it's not easy. It's very, very frustrating.
So let's pause there.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing you hear right now is the appraisal gap. What is that? How do you best explain that?
Yeah. So let's say you have a home, that's sitting at an average price of $450,000, in the area, and you're, having to come in at, let's say, almost $500,000. To compete with what maybe cash might be capable of doing. The bank might look at it still and go, hey, that house is worth $450,000. And when you have that gap between 500 and 450, now you're in a bad spot from a finance perspective because the bank's going to go, hey, that house is only worth 450, and you're $50,000 above, and they're not going to eat it. They're going to turn around and go, hey, we'll finance it still, but you're coming in with an additional 50,000 to make up the gap, and not everybody has that.
And is that because if they have to foreclose on it, they now have a property that's worth less than what they had appraised?
Well, they're putting, I don't think they look at it necessarily from that standpoint at the very beginning. They don't plan on going into foreclosure or loaning money out to people who can't pay it back. But I think the whole point is they're basing percentages, meaning, maybe loan to value. Like if you're going in and saying the magic number is 20%, it keeps you from having to get into, PMI, which is basically mortgage insurance to insure the loan. When you're having to come in with a ratio, they're not going to look at it and go, hey, you're coming in with a true 20% down. Mm-hmm. If we're valuing it at 450, yet somebody's willing to pay 500 for it. So it creates a whole domino effect of other problems, and the bank doesn't want to give out money when in their mind they're looking at it from hey, this is an artificially inflated price.
So basically they're just saying this is a risky financial move,
it
and
becomes
we're
more
not
risky.
we're not able to do this without certain measures put in place, which is like PMI. Like they will give you eventually 500,000, but there's going to be all kinds. There's going to be a higher interest rate.
They won't give you that amount. They're still going to base it on what the value it appraises at.
Oh.
And they're going to make you pay the difference. Otherwise, you're going to end up probably having a deal that falls apart.
Yeah.
And which is one of the reasons why, once again, people like cash.
I see.
And that's where if you're financing, it can become more challenging in a market like today. Where not only, even if you were cash and you're competing with multiple offers, it's still challenging because even with, if you've got 5 offers on the table and 3 or 4 of them are cash, those people are competing with each other too. So God forbid you're the guy that's, trying to finance this, that becomes even one step further as far as a challenge.
And I'm thinking about like instances, and this is probably a common one, which was if I'm looking to buy a new home, and that me buying a new home, there's a contingency on me selling my home. So if I need to sell my home in order to buy a new home, I need to make sure that, because like I've heard a lot of instances where if you go to buy the home,
it's a very common problem.
The bank says, okay, we'll do it, but you need to sell your home by this date or else you can't do the deal. Like they'll say your loan can only close if you sell your home by this date.
So you're talking about somebody that already owns a home,
Yep.
and then is trying to purchase another home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem is with that, a bank's still going to look at that home. They're still going to look at it from a standpoint of, where you have a DTI, debt to income, issue. They aren't going to necessarily look at it and go, hey, we know you're going to close on your home. You need to be able to basically afford that next home while you own the other home. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're going to run into a finance issue with that as well. Because they'll still look at it where, hey, if you're financed on this home over here already, and we're going to give you another mortgage over here, they're still going to count that other payment that you owe over here against you. Mm-hmm. So you have to have enough income to support it. And it creates problems for people because now they're trying to transition. Not only that, in a market where we have limited inventory. Yeah. Oftentimes what happens, especially in today's market, one of my first things when I'm talking to somebody that's looking to sell their home and relocate is, hey, what's your plan? Because it's not easy just to go time stuff out right now and find the perfect home that you're going to transition to. And then with inflated rental rates today, it becomes a challenge because maybe you can't afford the new rental rates that are out there that you're, having to move and pay, or, you're dealing with limited inventory there too. So when you have a closing date that comes up, you got to know where you're going, and whether that be, hey, I have family I can go move with, I can, relocate and stay with a friend over here, or, find a rental, find a home to purchase. There's different options, but it still creates a challenge in today's market for people.
Why are there such limited inventory right now, do you think?
So I think part of it has, because of the amount of people moving to Southwest Florida, you had a market that's been there's been a fluctuation between new construction too. New construction, as we, as the market was growing and we had people moving into the area, the builders also kind of sat back a little bit at one point and went, hey, are we building too fast and building too much? Are we going to get into trouble like we did last time, where we had too many homes being done at once and being built at once? And so there was a little bit of hesitancy maybe a year or two back, and it created a level of a gap that happened with the building industry too. So then all of a sudden they realized, oh, this market's fueling. And so when they came in, to keep up with inventory, it's been hard to keep up with it ever since that kind of happened. So that's a whole different factor, the new construction side of things. But then you had the resale homes in that mix as well. It's supply and demand. Demand, got so strong to where between all of your spec homes from new construction getting bought up, we no longer had spec homes. Now you are on a waiting list to purchase.
What is a spec home?
So spec home meaning that you already have a builder that has built a home. It's pretty much down to the final finishes, where maybe there's a couple options for you to still choose, as the buyer that's coming in to purchase that home. But most of it's been picked out already, and it's almost at a point where the house is at a point of completion. So what happens there is now when all that gets bought up, you can't even look at a new construction home. Maybe you can't wait for a new construction home. And in today's market with supply issues and so forth, you could run yourself a year, possibly longer on a home sometimes. So when you're having supply issues and so forth, and it takes longer to build a home, now you're looking at resale. So now that resale market, on top of the fact that we talked about low interest rates, we talked about a movement coming in because of what was going on in the world with COVID and so forth, and a mass movement of people coming to Southwest Florida. All of that on top of, the fact of maybe we can't wait to build a home. Now all those people went over to resale, and that market got bought up. And so it's been a constant struggle of a catch-up game, of how quickly can inventory come back on and catch up with demand. And it's been challenging. So now you have, a market where you've got difficulties for people who are, maybe they're wanting to just purchase their first time home. Or maybe this is your second, retirement home. It's your secondary home. Those, it is now very challenging to, be able to compete in today's market, and you're having to pay a premium, sometimes to compete too.
I would appreciate it if everyone in this area would stop buying homes so that I can buy one.
And I would
I don't think it's
appreciate
gonna
it
happen.
if you keep buying homes. 'Cause I have a home.
Yeah. When we were at Keystone this weekend, we were walking to a restaurant, and this couple had come out, and they were on the phone, and the woman was screaming like, "We got it!" And no doubt she was talking about they got
that was
the
my
house.
first thought. I was thinking, I was going, she just got herself a home. I was going, good for her.
Right now, it's like winning the lottery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my first thought. So she sounds like she hit the lottery.
Yeah.
But it might be a home.
Are there any things that you can take advantage of being a first-time home buyer, like government-wise, or not government-wise, like taxes-wise or loan-wise? Is there any things that
there might be, so there's not a lot out there right now. But one of the things that I do recommend, I have specific lenders I like to work with because I have good relationships with them, specifically loan officers, because I understand how they work. They treat my customers like a customer, not just a number in the file. That's huge. I mean, anytime you can have the level of quality go up in a transaction with, you have so many different parties involved in a transaction. So, it's if you can have all those ducks in a row with strong people, you have a very successful transaction. It's smooth. So one of the first things I'll tell people, that are looking to finance a transaction is, hey, always check with your local bank that you bank with. Maybe they're offering you some kind of incentive, because you bank with them that I can't, possibly get you, otherwise. And so sometimes that's a good idea, but there's some challenges that come along with that too. Like I said, sometimes you become more of a number in the file, rather than, feeling like you're a customer, and so it's what do you place value on, and what are you going to feel more comfortable with, but sometimes that's a suggestion that I'll make, to not only give people options, but also see maybe there is something that's beneficial to them. because of who they bank with.
What is the so like buying homes really tough. We got that out of the way. How long are you seeing it take for somebody who comes to you and goes, Zach, I want to buy a home?
From start to end,
Start to signing the closing documents.
So
on average,
you're talking
right
about
now.
from the time we're under contract, or you're talking about from the time we're looking for a home?
Time you're looking for a home.
Yeah.
Say get that first phone call to that last phone
Yeah.
call.
So today's market, it can be 3-4 months. Especially if you're ready to go, and it's not so much the time of the transaction. From one point you're under contract to closing, it's the time it's taking to find the right home. When you're in a market where you're dealing with limited inventory, and one of the challenges I'm having and I'm explaining to my customers in today's market is, hey, don't get bogged down and get so frustrated and feel like you're priced out of the market necessarily, because it might not be that you're priced out. You might feel that way. But sometimes it's the fact of, because of the limitations with the amount of inventory we have, it makes you feel discouraged. It makes you feel like, man, our money's not buying us what we want. And a lot of times it's not the fact that you can't afford to buy the home. It's that home doesn't exist at the moment. So now you're having to, possibly, I can't tell you whether it's going to come in a week. It might take 3 months before the right home pops up. So that becomes a challenge too, is having patience, and being able to, wait it out to find the right home. And some people can wait it out. Some people can't. And some are having to compromise, maybe more so than they probably, initially anticipated.
And if they're having to compromise, I mean, obviously, if they're compromising and they're buying a home, they're doing it to a degree that they're comfortable with. But why aren't people just saying, or is it people are kind of like the FOMO, like, I need to buy the house now because I think in the future it'll be way more expensive and I can't rent for a while instead and wait until.
So there's multiple things going on. There's the cost of rent, right? Rental rates are going through the roof. It's amazing. It's not uncommon maybe in Naples to pay for a 3-bedroom, place that might be 15, 16, 1,800 square feet, and it's costing you $3,500 a month. That's not normal for everybody. That becomes very challenging. And then, you also are dealing with, the race against the clock with interest rates. So there's somebody that's looking to finance might feel that pressure of going, oh, if I don't buy today, how many thousands of dollars more per year is a mortgage going to cost me because I didn't buy today versus buying, a year from now. So there's a lot of pressure on buyers, which is fueling the market even more, right? Yeah. Because it's almost a race against the clock. I mean, all of those things are creating challenges, that are making it difficult for people. Aside from the fact of, hey, have patience, we'll find the right home. But that doesn't change those factors. Those factors are and that's where you get into, hey, how much are we willing to compromise? Because we have other things that are going on that we don't have control over, that are external factors. Versus, what do we have control over? So that's where I think it depends on the individual on how much you can compromise on, depending on what the real motivation is. If you're a cash, buyer, you may not be intimidated so much by some of these external factors, but so I think it's different challenges depending on who you are, and what your situation is.
Sure, that makes total sense. So if I'm in the situation where I want to be in a house at some point, there's certain things that I want in the house, right? It has to be in a certain area.
Might be a view.
Yeah, view, whatever,
First floor, second floor.
Hot tub in the master bedroom.
There you go.
Exactly. And I can't get those things right now. Would you say, Miles, just put away those things for now, buy something that you can afford, and then in 10 years sell that and move into something else? Or would you say wait and get what you want?
So it's an often conversation that comes up. Everybody wants you to have a crystal ball, right? Everybody wants you to be able to tell them that in 2 years, this is what happens. So because of so many things going on in the market, whether that be politically, global issues, financial issues, and things directly related to microeconomics and so forth in a smaller, scale, and community specific, there's so many factors going on to where you really need to look at it from your own individual standpoint and to figure out what's best. I can't give the same advice to this person over here and turn around and make it like it's some kind of cookie cutter decision and apply that to this person over here. So everybody has their own needs. Everybody has their own expectations. And just because that's the right decision for this person over here doesn't mean that that's the same thing that applies over here to this other, potential seller or buyer. I get asked that question, hey, should we just wait? Well, what if you're the person that's looking to finance and get, rates where they're at today? Versus, hey, yeah, sure, wait. And then all of a sudden you're paying 8% 4 years later. Maybe that didn't make so much sense to that person that was financing. Maybe it made more sense to the person that was cash. Maybe not. Maybe it gets more expensive. So I think it's very challenging. I think it's, I remember maybe 3-4 years ago, having customers go, well, I'm just going to wait this out. This can't keep going on. And now some of those people have lost interest completely where they're going, I can't even buy what I wanted now. Mm-hmm. And those people are gone. They're not even in the market to buy anymore. They don't even know when they'll be able to even get into places like Naples and so forth. So, and now they're kicking themselves. I've had conversations with those customers who have now, moved out of the area and went, well, it was nice. It was a nice thought while it was there. To turn around and say that it's a good time to buy versus a bad time, or a good time to sell versus, I think it depends on the individual person and what you're needing, out of a home or selling a home. It's the same thing, if you're looking to do a local move. I've told people, hey, if you're looking to sell your home because they can get a good price on their home now, okay, well, if you're looking to turn around and purchase something, it may not even make sense to do that unless you're changing product, or maybe changing the type of, size of home, or downsizing, or maybe you're wanting to upsize. I don't know. But, so the correct answer is, I think it just depends. And it's not going to be the same answer applied across the board to everybody.
Yeah. What's the most sought after type of home right now, at least in your area? Like, you know what I mean? Number of bedrooms, square foot.
You know what? I don't. So once again, that's not a question that can be answered. Everybody has different needs. Yeah. Maybe somebody's looking for a low maintenance lifestyle, wants that secondary home, wants a condo, type environment where they can turn around, pack their stuff up, put the shutters down, go back up north, during the summertime, and be able to come back to visit and live in Naples, and it looked the same, and everything's been taken care of, for them. Or maybe you have the person that wants a full-time, residence, and they're looking for something that's fits that lifestyle more. So I think it just depends on the individual, once again, on what you're needing and what type of product you need, in the market. So it's not really I wouldn't say it's a same type of product, across the board, or one's better than the other.
Yeah. But I mean, everything's kind of generally sold out right now, right? Is there more stock of a certain?
So we're getting within days of, inventory left on the market, and so that, like I said, that's creating challenges, across the board. It doesn't matter whether you're looking for a condo or a single family home. Yeah. Across the board, we have relative, low inventory levels.
Mm-hmm. What is your ratio of people of your business selling and buying homes?
Yeah. So in my it's different for every realtor. In my business personally, I typically run probably around 50-50. Mm-hmm. And it fluctuates sometimes. A lot of times, I might be a little bit more on the listing side. But that I tend to run pretty even across the board, which is really a great spot to be in.
Are you seeing or having a few clients coming to you and setting make me move prices, or like have you had any of those where like, hey, we don't we don't really want to move, but we know that the market's on fire.
So most of those customers that are kind of in that category, most of them are looking to, obviously maximize what they can get out of their home. And a lot of them are either looking to rent in the meantime or downsize into something temporarily. And maybe they will want to pocket some of the money out of their home that they're selling in the meantime. So yeah, I mean but once again, there's some challenges there because it's not easy just to turn around and get into another home on the other end. So it's a little nerve wracking for that potential seller, that's looking to do that. But yeah, I mean that you do have the people who are looking to take advantage of today's prices and market that own, homes currently, and yeah, a lot of them are looking to sell, and they're in that category to where, hey, I don't really want to sell unless I can get this price, and that's the conversation you got to have with them and see if their expectations are realistic or not. I'm not going to turn around and list somebody's home unless I think we can sell it. You might have some kind of an inflated mindset that your house is worth $300,000-$400,000 more than what it really is. And, what good does that do to take that potential listing and end up with a customer that's just upset in the end? That doesn't make sense to me.
So when you go and you look at a house that's for sale and you decide you want to buy it, so you put an offer in, and the seller goes and accepts the offer, and then it goes into closing, right? It goes into or it's under contract.
Yeah, it's in
now.
a pending status.
Yeah. What is the typical length of that process from accepted offer to closing?
Yeah, so if you're financed, it's not uncommon to be in that 30 to 45 day range. If you're cash, you literally could close it by the time you can get title work done on the property and so forth.
What does that look like?
So I mean, you could typically do it probably 15, 20 days. If you're cash. The exception to that is a lot of these, especially in Florida, a lot of communities and homes that are in developments often are in associations, whether it be a homeowners association or a condo association. And those associations have their own requirements for approval processes and so forth. So when you're looking at, maybe a gated community that you're looking to move into, they might have a 15, 20, sometimes 30-day minimum requirement to be able to allow time for processing. And why that is, they might have a local board there that, basically goes through all these applications that get turned in, and they might only meet once a month. So if they're only meeting once a month and they just met yesterday and you put it under contract today, then all of a sudden you're going, oh wow, I'm gonna have to wait till almost the 30-day cycle. So sometimes it's not the matter of how quick can a lender close it or how quick can you get an attorney's office or a title company to close it. Assuming that the seller and buyer's expectations are met too. It may be down to the fact that you have to wait for an association to have approval as well.
What is in your mind some of the most common reasons why somebody could lose the contract after it goes under contract?
Yeah, not prepping in advance, and properly preparing to go under contract on a home. So if you're a finance buyer, and my transactions run really smooth because we do prep in advance, and that means if you're getting financing, make sure you're pre-approved. Make sure that you as a buyer, you understand what you're capable of doing, so that when you do go under contract, and it's everything, hey, great, you got approved for $400,000, but did you factor in the fact that you might have money that needs to go to homeowners association dues? Okay, well, you got approved with a lender, but you didn't tell your lender that you were probably going to have $300 a month in HOA expenses. Well, all of a sudden now, yeah, you were approved for $400,000, assuming you were in an association. So that's where you come to, a realtor and you're working on getting your pre-approval with a lender. Being a realtor, you're asking some of these questions. You're wanting to make sure that the buyer that you're working with, has been properly approved, pre-approved. and has considered these things, because if they're looking to be, maybe out on acreage, that's not in an association and no kind of regulations and rules and so forth from that standpoint, then maybe, yeah, you don't have to worry about, maybe their purchasing power actually goes up higher because they didn't have to pay HOA fees or condo association dues. And that's something to think about, because now all of a sudden maybe we can be more competitive in this market, assuming you're not going to buy a home in an association. Now all of a sudden I realize, hey, you have more purchasing power. Whereas originally maybe they didn't think that through. Basically making sure that you're financially ready to purchase a home, making sure that you're talking to your lender before you go out and make big purchases. And if you're a cash buyer, obviously you want to make sure that, you have your ducks in a row and so forth. And there's little hurdles and so forth that people don't think of if they're pulling out, money out of a 401k or a retirement account. Sometimes there's processing time with pulling money out of those accounts. So just make sure you're allowing yourself enough time prior to closing so you don't run into last minute hurdles on being able to fund your transaction. So there's lots of, but those are things that we, are constantly keeping tabs on throughout the transaction, making sure that we prep, that we have a smooth transaction.
HOA is such a weird world to me. It's like,
especially from other parts of the country too, because there's a lot of, it's interesting because I talk to a lot of customers that are, out of state, and they're moving to the area and they're going, hey, we're not used to this homeowners association thing yet. We have it everywhere here. It's not uncommon to have that. Not to say that you don't have to buy a home. You can buy a home that's not in an association, but we definitely have a lot of homeowners association, condo associations relative to other states and areas in the country that maybe aren't so used to that type of environment.
So then explain what are you actually paying for?
Yeah. So, when you're paying for multiple things, and it depends on what community you're moving into and so forth. One of the things that I often talk to my customers about when we're trying to decide on how much money to allocate towards dues and association, fees and so forth is, hey, before you decide that $4,000 or $5,000 a year in fees is too much, ask yourself, well, what am I getting for those fees? And that really can make a difference for somebody. Somebody might think, hey, 4,000 or 5,000, and we have communities where it might cost you $30,000 a year.
What is the most expensive monthly HOA due you've seen?
I don't know offhand, but I mean, we have communities that you could see $50,000+ a year in fees.
Oh my God.
And it might be because you have membership dues for whether it be a golf club that you have to be a part of. There might be requirements that association requires you to be a part of, whether it be a social membership. And then they have spending, minimums that you have to spend in those associations, meaning, hey, maybe they have a food and beverage minimum at their club. And maybe you see value in that. And that's why I'm saying before, obviously you might go as a potential consumer in the market, you might go, well, Zach, it doesn't matter how much value I'm getting. I'm not spending any more than $8,000 a year in fees just because I can't spend any more than that. That's where I'm capped at. But before and that's fine. That really helps narrow things down from a property search perspective. But the correct answer is to ask yourself, when you might cap yourself at a max at $8,000, $10,000 a year in fees, but before you decide that $8,000 is too much for this community, ask yourself, well, what am I getting for those dues? And going back to your question on well, what kind of things do you get? Well, it could be anything from lawn maintenance, maybe high-speed internet, cable packages, maybe it's streaming packages that you can get through your association for TV and so forth. Water might be included. And sometimes even, sometimes homeowners associations, but specifically definitely condos, many times condo associations, you might have part of your master insurance policy paid for, within those fee structures, and that matters a lot because all of a sudden you're going, hey, I have a master insurance policy that's paying for part of the insurance through the dues that I'm paying. So now some of that money is going to allocate towards insurance costs, whereas you would have paid a full policy out of pocket otherwise. So now you're going, well, maybe I only need to do like a walls in policy, almost maybe relative to like a renter's insurance policy, from a cost perspective sometimes, and so you might go, hey, I would have had to spend $1,800 a year in insurance, and now I'm only having to spend $900 because some of it's getting paid through the association dues. And then you have, your pool, your clubhouse, your gated, entrance. Maybe you have a manned gate guard that's up front. So, it could be many, many things that are structured within your association dues. Reserves are a huge one. Reserves mean a lot. Especially if reserves meaning, so if you're like purchasing, let's just say in a community that's, has condos, reserves is money that's put aside by the association to help offset maintenance costs associated with maybe the buildings, the homes, maybe other parts of the community, the clubhouse facilities and so forth, so that when it comes time for maybe the roofs to be replaced or the buildings need painted every 8 years, that money is already there sitting ready to fund the project or the parking lot that needs to be resurfaced. How does the money, where does the money come from to pay for those things? Well, if they don't have proper reserves in place and they're not putting money away, well, then there's a chance that you could end up seeing something, called a special assessment, which all of a sudden you're going, special assessments aren't fun. It's surprise costs that pop up to fund a project that needs to be, in many cases, dealt with. And all of a sudden a hurricane comes in and you find out that you're not getting the insurance to cover it for some reason, but they still need to fix the roofs. Okay, well, where's that money coming from? If they don't have reserves for it, they might turn around and say, hey, there's 50 doors here that make up this community. We have, $100,000 worth of expenses, and they're going to turn around and split that up amongst 50 doors. And you're going to be required to pay that as a homeowner there.
If you don't, what do they do?
Yeah. So, technically, if you didn't pay, you could end up getting into a foreclosure process at the end. Or you could get smacked with fees that were on top of that prior to that, but it could end up at the end into a foreclosure process where, you've got backed up dues. And the thing is some people may choose not to pay them and get away with it. But when they go to sell their home, it'll come back and it'll come out of the proceeds, because that's debt against the property that has to be satisfied.
So basically, hypothetically speaking, if I owned my home outright and the bank wasn't involved at all, and I just stopped paying my dues, and I just plan to live in my home for the rest of my life, what could they possibly do?
They could get into a foreclosure process.
Really? With whom?
The association could foreclose on you.
Really? Mm-hmm. Just evict me?
Eventually.
Really?
If you owe more than your home is worth or something? Or what does it take?
No, I don't know what the exact dollar amount is on it. I'd have to find that out. But at the end of the day, the association can technically foreclose on you.
That's great. And they would own the house? Who would own the house at that point? They would?
Yeah, they would.
It doesn't seem legal to me.
They could foreclose on it and take title to it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They would just get an.
No, they probably wouldn't go that. They probably wouldn't go that far, But at the same time, because associations also can have liability and so forth, depending on what's happening. But a lot of times you may end up having where you just have a massive amount of backed up dues that would happen, and
so you basically can't.
And it's still attached to the property. Yeah. So like even if you go to sell it, you're gonna have to pay back.
I wonder if you could settle. If you could create such a massive amount of backup dues and then go to them and they go, hey, you owe us 5,000, and I go, listen, let's just settle this and I'll give you 3.
I doubt that.
Really? No? I feel like it's like medical, like, when your medical bills get sent to a collection agency.
Some kind of payment plan possibly, but yeah. I doubt that. At the end of the day, you owe the money, just like the next door neighbor owes the money.
Yeah.
And they're not out giving forgiveness to people. It's like I said, maybe they might structure a payment plan with you to help you a little bit, but
is it public knowledge within the community? So could you know that Chase isn't paying his dues?
Yeah, because they could put a lien on your house, which I think is public knowledge.
Yeah, I'm sure you could go find out who owes what and who the backed up, how much bad debt. It's technically considered bad debt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, have you ever seen a contract go through because the buyer who thought they were getting into a good community realizes that the HOA is basically bankrupt and has an enormous amount of debt?
So, depending on the type of lending you're doing. There may be certain requirements, like sometimes when you might have like an FHA loan, and they might require certain amount of the dues being applied towards reserves and so forth. So sometimes you might have a specific type of loan that has certain requirements with an association, and it could even be requirements down to, hey, one owner can't own more than X amount of homes in a community from a percentage standpoint in order to get financing. I have seen where people cannot, no matter how bad you want that home, you can't get financing on it necessarily, from a conventional loan standpoint, because of the amount of homes that are owned by one specific owner in a community.
Who is this? Who goes to a community is like, I want all of these homes.
Sometimes you might have a owner that owns 30% of the homes, or in an association owns 30% of the condos in there, and it might be just could be a corporate investor that's come in and bought 30% of the properties in there and is renting them all out. Yeah, that does happen.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds to me, in the end of this, that it's very important to look into, if you're moving into a place that has an association, look into it.
Oh, absolutely. And the nice thing is the way our contracts are set up, for the most part, there is some time stamps that are built into our contracts that allow the buyer, some time, especially like a condo association. There's a right of rescission period in there where you can make sure that you're satisfied with all the documents and going through the association rules and regs, and making sure that you're satisfied with how it's structured. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how does one, if you are a buyer, how does one get into that knowledge? Like, how do you get in contact with the association?
Well, a lot of times you rely on your realtors, to help provide that information and gather that information for you. You want to be well informed about what you're purchasing. You're spending sometimes some of the most amount of money that you'll ever spend in your lifetime, and it would probably be smart to understand what you're purchasing into. And so you get access to those documents and those condo docs, whether homeowners association docs, that show how it's structured. Maybe you'll see financial budgets that'll help you understand what kind of reserves they're putting in place. And I like to look through those things too, because it helps you understand, are they putting money away for the roofs? Are they putting money away for painting? And then sometimes it's not a bad idea to ask the association or the property manager there, have you guys had any special assessments in the last 10 years? It'll give you an idea of how that community functions and whether special assessing homeowners is a normal routine, or whether it's something that's very rare, and it's sometimes it's one of those things where I caution my customers, and I go, hey, you might want to make sure you're fully aware that, hey, if you're buying into an association that only has 8 homes that make up the entire association versus a community that has 100 to 150 homes, if 2 of those people out of 8 homes go belly up, who's paying for everything? The other 6 homes. Versus, hey, maybe you have, 5-10 homes that go belly up in a association that makes up 100, 150 homes. It might be less of an impact, to you personally, owning that home versus, less people having to carry the weight for the whole thing. So that's important. Everything's great, and while it's great, and then the minute something that doesn't go, correctly or doesn't go well down the road, now you have to deal with that. So everything might seem great now, but I do like to let my customers have a basic understanding of that concept. And then from there they can make their purchase decision. And if they're still okay with it, that's fine. But it is something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, it's probably the most amount of money you'll be spending in your life.
Yeah.
My question is, how do you even know what that amount of spending even should be? Who do you talk to about that?
So I think it's like many things. I think it depends on your financial situation, right?
Yeah.
And your level of risk tolerance might be different than somebody else's. You might have more of a stable job. Maybe you're less stable, and so, I think it depends on the individual on what, would be spending more than you should versus, not spending, or having the ability to spend more. And that depends on what you're wanting too. Sometimes it's not all about having the biggest and best home. Sometimes it's about having the small home, that's easier to clean, that's easier to maintain, take care of, and allows you to do other things in life. Being house poor might not be something you're interested in, or maybe it's very easy and doesn't really matter. Money's not an issue. So I think it's different for everybody. And I don't always think it's necessarily a financial thing that helps you decide on whether it's a good home or not.
Yeah, but and then so say me and my wife talk about it. We think we make this much money, our jobs are stable, we have this debt,
Yep.
We have this much saved. It's our first house we're buying. I may know how much I have right now, and then I could apply the 20% rule, and then maybe look up some things about how much house I could afford potentially based on my income. Then should I go to get a real estate agent and say, hey, how much do you think we could purchase, or should I then go to my bank?
So if you're looking to finance, I think it's a combination of a couple things. If you're a realtor and you're a good realtor, you shouldn't really be running somebody around without knowing whether they're qualified or not. So there wouldn't be anything wrong with you coming to somebody like me and going, hey, Zach, can you help me find a home? And then my response would be, yeah, absolutely, I would love to. But have you been pre-qualified yet or pre-approved? And, you might go, no, not yet. And then the next thing is I'd be telling you, well, hey, do you have somebody that you know that's, in the lending industry that you want to work with already? And you might go yes or no. And from there, we would work on getting you in the right direction and figure out what you're capable of doing. And then just because you're capable of doing it doesn't mean that you need to go max out what you're capable of doing, unless that's your goal. But but then from there, being able to decide, hey, this is what we can afford out of max. This is what we want out of a home. And sometimes you got to realize it's not just about a home. The other half of that, and sometimes more importantly, in some instances, is what kind of lifestyle do we want? It's not always about the walls, the roof, the foundation. Sometimes it's about, well, what do we want out of a lifestyle? Different homes in different locations, different areas will offer you different lifestyles. Some people are willing to pay more for a lifestyle than the home itself, right?
Tiny homes.
Tiny homes.
Yeah.
Have you ever sold any tiny homes?
Not specifically. I don't really think of Naples as an area where we focus on tiny homes per se.
I don't think of Florida as unless it's a trailer park. That's the tiny home of Florida.
I've never sold a home in a trailer park. Not to say that, hey, that wouldn't happen, but and that's a whole different thing. A lot of times when you're in a trailer park, you don't necessarily have a deeded property per se. It might be sold more like a vehicle where you have a bill of sale attached with a title.
Right.
So but it's more about potential lifestyle, home. Maybe it's a combination. And then from there, you need to decide what's best for you, and then what kind of limitations you have from affordability and standpoint. And, maybe you can get exactly what you want for less. Maybe you got to realize, hey, we got to figure out how to make it happen because we, need a little bit more than what we feel we can afford at the moment. And from there, you got to decide, what avenue do you want to take from a purchase decision? So it's very different for everybody.
I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a good time for somebody who's interested in getting into real estate from a realtor perspective to join into the market?
Yeah. So, yes and no. If you think that this is a career for you and this is what you want to do for your career and it becomes a lifestyle too. But if this is really what you want to do, then yes. I don't think whether the economy is in a state of mind where we're running into bad times versus being in awesome times. I don't think that really matters from that perspective. If it's what you wake up and love to do every day, and you can have a bad day and still get up the next day and go, this is what I love to do. Yeah, 100%. You should get into it. But if this is something where you're gonna try it out, and you think that this is gonna be easy, it's not an easy business to get into in general. But I would think that getting into the market now, it would be very hard and difficult. A lot of people might feel otherwise because they're going, oh, real estate boom, everything's going great. Well, yeah, but everybody and their mom has a real estate license right now. And, Sure, you might find, where you could sell one or two homes here or there. But I think because of the level of competition, meaning there's a lot more realtors in the market, there's a lack of inventory in the market. That's huge. I actually find that to be more challenging than the amount of people that have their license in this market. If you only have 10 homes to sell and there's 100 realtors, you still only have 10 homes to sell.
Yeah.
So that's where the challenge becomes. I think it would be this is a business where it can be very difficult to break into the industry and survive. You have to be in a position where you can get into it financially and be able to carry yourself through. So as long as you're willing to put in the effort and do what it takes to build your business in this industry, I think you'll be successful. But today's market, as glamorous as it sounds, I think it also creates a lot of challenges for people who are getting licensed, today and trying to get in and break into the market, specifically because of the level of competition and the lack of inventory that's in this market.
What is something, or say I wanted to begin my journey to becoming a realtor? What is the first things you need to do?
Yeah. So obviously you got to get your license.
How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, so you have local boards, that are within your community. You have real estate schools that exist within your communities, and you got to find out who they are and who you feel comfortable with using. And you'll go into, getting into signing up for classes and so forth. You'll work on getting your license. You'll pass those classes, the exam that's there, and then from there you'll move on to your state exam. Once you pass your, state exam, the next step after that is you'll need to be able to go in and hang your license with a broker. It's a little bit backwards, traditionally speaking, from what you would think about applying to a job. You're actually going to be interviewing brokers to figure out who you're going to hang your license with, rather than the broker. There might be a combination, of, whether a broker is going to allow you to hang your license with them.
How do they come to determine that?
Well, you might have a broker that is more lackadaisical on that, or you might have, specifically, I hang my license with John Arwood Properties in Naples, Florida. They're not a broker that just allows anybody to hang their license with them. There's a level of integrity that they want, to be a part of that brokerage. So not only are you interviewing brokers, but they might also be interviewing you in a way, and figuring out whether you fit the culture and so forth that they're looking to portray within the market. And there might be certain requirements that you're going to need to be able to hold, as far as sales and so forth, and what you need to do basically to hold up your end of the bargain to be a part of that brokerage. So, but going back to stepping back, you got to hang your license with a broker, and then from there, the first step to becoming a successful realtor is not being a secret agent. Let everybody know that you're getting into the business and that you're looking to grow your business and whether that be friends, family, we call it your sphere of influence. Let everybody know what you're doing, because those are the first people that are going to be willing to, hopefully give you the opportunity to help them either find a home or sell a home. Family and friends, right? So that really becomes the foundation that will, help you. Now, it's not that way for everybody. It might not be family or friends necessarily, but that's definitely the first step. Those are people who already know that you exist. And one of the challenges in this business is most people don't really, the fact that you have your real estate license, you're a realtor, they may not really need you until they need you, from a standpoint of selling or buying a home. So they might be fine with it, but the problem is you need to stay in front of those people, so that when it does come time to buying or selling a home, hopefully you'll be the first in their mindset.
Is that why my real estate agent keeps sending me junk mail? Like I get one every other week.
Yeah, and it may not be. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. That's reminder type advertising. That's somebody that's trying to make sure that you don't forget who they are. And that's somebody that already earned your business once. And they're probably hoping to hold on to that relationship that they've built with you. This is a relationship type business.
They wanted to cater my home warming party, and I was like, I see what you're doing here. Like, you wanted to show up with the food, everybody that's there attending. You're like, oh, hey, yeah, incredible home, right? I sold it with or I helped Chase buy it. It's crazy. I can help you also buy it.
It's clever, and that might work. But at the same time, relationships are huge in this business.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the single most important things. Is remembering a relationship. And that doesn't mean you need to spam your customer, every other day. But at the same time, that I that's one of my favorite things about this business is meeting people, and being able to help, people, with their path on what they're looking to pursue, in real estate. And you meet a lot of neat, interesting people. There's no day where it's the same routine every day. The conversations you get into, the people you meet, the families you can help. It becomes
rewarding.
Yeah, very rewarding. Seeing people succeed, is an awesome part of that reward. Whether that be financially or whether that be, finding, comfort in the home that they live in.
And you probably get to share that moment with them when you tell them,
somewhat.
hey, you won the house, basically, and they're
somewhat.
excited, and you're excited for them.
Absolutely, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a special moment too, right? It's a moment that some people only do once or twice in their lifetimes. And then you have people who do it every 4 or 5 years, sometimes more.
Yeah.
So it means different things to different people, right? And some people are so used to it, they understand it, because they've done it every other year. And whereas you might have somebody that, this is where they're on the 15, 20-year plan now. Whether that really works out that way, that's another thing. But that might be their mindset, and that's a big deal.
Since you've met a lot of different people, have you met anyone who's a crypto millionaire yet? Buying their house?
I wish that'd be pretty cool. But I'm sure
at some point,
I'm sure that exists.
Yeah.
So
Naples,
I'm sure that exists. That if you can imagine it, it's probably happening.
Right.
So you mentioned you're with John R. Wood, which I heard you're number 5 in the company.
I was
Naples.
number 5 in my office, correct?
Congratulations!
This past month.
Wow,
awesome.
That's
exciting.
Pretty good.
Yeah. It is
because
exciting.
they were one of the more premier brokers in town, right?
Yeah, they've been around since 1958 in the
time.
Southwest Florida area.
It's like when it didn't even exist.
It was back when you were pretty much riding around looking at property in Jeeps.
Yeah.
So matter of fact, we had a slogan back in the day: "Walk on it before you buy it."
Yeah.
And that was to figure out whether it was suitable land.
Now it's look at pictures on Zillow before you buy it.
Hey, or do a Zoom session, right?
Yeah, Zoom session. Did you have to do that during COVID?
Oh no, we're still doing it.
Doing
it's
it?
one of the things that's changed in the industry, and it really resulted out of probably I would say it's a positive thing that came out of if you want to look at any positive that came out of COVID, from this. It's one of those things that the business really changed and adapted in a different way. And, it makes it easier for people who are looking to purchase, in the area, by being able to do things like Zoom sessions and so forth. Sometimes they can often feel comfortable enough to make a purchase decision without even actually being physically in the home. And it creates challenges. I don't personally like saying, hey, I'm part of helping somebody pick out a home necessarily without them being there. But I've gotten pretty good at it to where I can really help somebody understand what they're purchasing, from something as simple as a Zoom session. And it's actually really cool because it's one of those things too. What did it do? It allowed us to fuel the real estate industry even more. And how many people are now purchasing without actually physically being in the home? And what is that doing now to the level of inventory that we have. It's speeding up the demand faster, which is like
it's scaling the time.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's good and bad that come along with that.
I can imagine that's a little bit nerve-wracking for you because you're not just trying to sell a house; you want a happy.
I want
client,
to absolutely.
right?
The most important part for me in this industry is making sure I help my customer find the right home.
Yeah. So doing over Zoom.
The way for me, for some people it might be a numbers game. I will surely give up a sale to keep my integrity. But at the same time, I want to make sure that at the end of the day, we find the right home for my customer.
So what does a broker do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you mentioned like a part of the process of doing real estate is hanging your license that you earned by passing an exam.
Mm-hmm.
With a broker, like, why couldn't you just get your license and start selling?
You could get your brokerage license.
So you have to get a brokerage license.
You could. You have to hang your license with a broker
in the state of Florida.
So you could technically, get your broker's license and run your own show from that standpoint. But there's a lot that comes along with a broker, especially, you look at a broker, like the broker that I work with is being around in the community for as long as they've been, having the level of integrity that they've built within the market. When somebody knows, hey, I'm working with, an agent at John R. Wood Properties, you can have a level of expectation that comes along with that, and whether that be the level of integrity, whether that be professionalism, you know that you're going to get it there, but there's more than just that side of it. There's the, you have somebody that's able to, on the back end, make sure that it's another set of eyes from a liability standpoint, whether it be marketing type materials, owning certain types of publications that are put out within the industry. It gives you access to those tools that are going to be able to turn around and benefit the customer at the end of the day. And the resources that are available to you, to whether that be trying to expand globally outside the market to something that's, from a micro scale, within the community, it allows you to have those resources to help, at the end of the day, ultimately benefit the customer, and give them the resources and tools that they need, whether it's be purchasing or buying a home to selling a home. It only helps enhance that experience, so that really, and that level of, resources, the level of integrity that comes along with that and so forth, that might change from one brokerage to another. They're not all equal. Mm-hmm. They're not. It's one of the reasons why I haven't left my brokerage. You see where agents might jump around from one brokerage to another. It's one of the reasons I joined them originally is the level of integrity that comes along with that, the image that they present amongst the community. They also have a huge side of them that, pertain to the luxury market as well. So it's a very sought after brokerage, that has very deep ties from everything from a level of philanthropy and, down to, the customer's experience and expectations. So it's not all about just selling homes. It's about giving back to the community and being able to, help the community where it's needed, to succeed and so forth, and giving back, so it's not about take. It's about giving back to the community.
Yeah. You sound like a sales guy for John R. Wood.
Well, I'm proud to be amongst
Very
the best.
Very PC of you. Yes, give back to the community. That's what we do.
I am proud to be amongst the best.
I get it.
So.
It sounds kind of union-y to me.
So I wouldn't want to use the word union because it sounds kind of strange. I would probably say family-oriented. I know if I need a colleague that I know that had a certain experience in the industry, with something that they dealt with, and I personally haven't dealt with that, I could easily go ask that colleague, for help and maybe some advice based on their experience. And rather than it being, oh, you're competition and I'm not willing to help you,
Yeah.
it's the opposite of that. So there's a culture there, that, amongst my colleagues where there's a level of success that everybody wants to share. I definitely wouldn't use the word union, but it's more a family oriented environment.
Yeah. So
Amongst
you're basically associating yourself with a brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
And along with the brand, it's made up of highly sophisticated professional people in the industry, that are very smart people, that understand the business from a day-to-day basis. These are not other realtors and colleagues that do this as a part-time gig. They're in this because this is what they do, day in and day out. Which is, really rewarding to be a part of a group like that, because everybody is very, oriented into the market where they know everything that's going on, whether that be trends, whether that be language that's constantly changing in contracts. It becomes a group that's very involved on a day-to-day basis, which is important because these are people who are handling transactions with lots of money that's passing in and out on a daily basis, and it should be people who know what they're doing on a day in, day out basis. So, that's a very, very important concept. I would find it to be very hard to be in this business and do this correctly if I wasn't doing this on a daily basis. There's so many things that are constantly changing in this industry where it would be hard to keep up with everything, and be able to do it successfully, where you're really helping customers the way that they need to be helped. The last thing I would ever want is to be a disadvantage to my customer.
Do you ever use social media personally for?
Yep.
You use like Instagram and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you do a lot of stuff on Facebook. It's just whether you like that side of things or not. In today's market, it's important. A lot of people see things on. A lot of people like using social media. It's another one of those parts of advertising and marketing that are important, uses of your resources and so forth, when advertising a home and so forth. So it's another direction.
What are your thoughts on Zillow?
Regarding?
I don't know. Do you have any? What do you hate about it? What do you love about it?
Yeah. So it's a part of the business, right?
Yeah.
Zillow's changed over time. Now it's its own brokerage. I think Zillow's become an important part of the business from the standpoint of, a lot of people are either utilizing realtor.com or maybe it's Zillow, but they're
So you can hang your license with Zillow?
you could
wanted to?
technically be a realtor that's licensed under Zillow now, correct? So
Interesting.
so Zillow, I think, there's good and bad that come along with that, and it's changed probably over the years too, now that they're our own brokerage. It's changed on how we can market our own properties.
Yeah, because they're now a competitor, right?
Yeah, correct. So now, there's some limitations on what we can do, and what they can do, because they're a brokerage. So now there's a new set of rules that they have to follow. But I look at it now as like any other brokerage. It's another brokerage that's in the market. So I don't necessarily have any good or bad things to say about it necessarily. It's another way of exposure. It's another site that people use commonly. Look at real estate. A lot of times you might be doing your own search, whether that be on realtor.com or Zillow, before you even meet me as your realtor. And, you already kind of have your own search going on and you're trying to figure out what you like. And then, it comes down to finding that realtor that can help you in, from a microeconomic standpoint, for that individual market, that knows it best, so that you can help make a purchase decision.
Do you have like a non-compete with John R. Wood? So could you hang your license with Zillow?
I could leave tomorrow if I
No,
want.
no, I'm just saying, like, could you also hang your license
No.
with? No,
No, you
only
can't.
one.
Yeah, no, you're not gonna be able to do. No, it would get very confusing as far as representation and so forth.
Have you met anybody who's
You
done
could
it?
hang your license, out of state and be in a different state and sell real estate there with somebody else, but no, you wouldn't like hang your license with this broker and turn around and
Like
do
you
it.
couldn't do like Zillow, Redfin. Realtor.com?
If you were gonna go just hang your license with them, I guess you could.
It's like there's no like law or anything against
You wouldn't
that.
be able to hang with multiple brokerages.
But you have to give them some kind of commission, right?
So it just depends on who you're hanging your license with, whether some brokers might have some kind of where they charge more of a desk fee, or some might take more, as far as on a commission standpoint, take a percentage, so that's going to change from one brokerage to another.
Gotcha. So you probably don't want to pay multiple fees.
Yeah, I guess
That's the
that could get
advantage.
pretty messy. It sounds like. Yeah. Quicken Loans. Do you recommend your customers use that? Was it now called
Or
Rocket Mortgage?
Is that the same company?
It is the
They
same
changed
company.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, the problem with getting into one of the big, chains of lending like that is you got to realize there's individual loan officers that work under these big, companies. So to tell you that it's going to be an even scale across the board as far as, the experience, it might change drastically. You could have a great experience and you could end up having a horrific experience because you're going to end up working with different loan officers under that company. So, if I had somebody that goes, oh, well, I want to work with, Rocket Mortgage, Quicken Loans, whatever, it may end up being difficult to control the level of, professionalism, the level of how smooth a transaction is going to run, because it may be somebody that me in this industry has never worked with, probably most likely, and it also may be somebody that my customers never worked with. So basically you're kind of coming fresh out of the gate going, hey, I hope this works out good. Maybe they're going to get a great interest rate. Maybe they won't, but the problem is if it's somebody that I've never worked with, I kind of going into it a little blind, and which can be fine because it could still turn out to be a good transaction. But if it's versus somebody that I work with more often from a relationship standpoint with a particular lender or loan officer, I already know what the expectation is and how they work and how they function. So, I think it could be fine, but I also think it could be a mess. And then the other problem you run into sometimes is, there may be certain lenders that aren't so familiar with the state of Florida, and what their rules are and their policies are from the lending side of things. So sometimes, they might not be so used to dealing with associations and so forth. And that could cause problems as well. So sometimes lenders don't necessarily know there's, different rules and regulations on their part from state to state that change, which sometimes can create some hurdles throughout a transaction as well.
Does a loan officer usually work with multiple lenders and they'll find you the best?
Possibly.
situation?
It might be a loan officer that's specific to a bank, or it could be one that shops like a broker. It's basically as a mortgage broker that, shops from different parts of the market and has different products to offer customers.
Isn't that basically what Rocket Mortgage does?
Yeah.
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 Like a
So
bro-
and
a
you
loan
might
company.
have a where you are tied in with them and as a resource to bring in business. Correct.
Does it really vary that much from lender to lender? Would it be like, oh, I could get
Yeah, it does.
this much from this lender at this rate?
It does.
It really
Yeah,
does.
I've
most
experienced that.
most lenders. So
as
like
well.
when you're getting a mortgage and so forth, you'll have things like loan origination fees and so forth that are associated with that lender. That's not actually where the lender makes their money. The lender makes their money on interest rates. So you might have a lender that's going, oh man, the loan origination fee is $1,200, but this one's only $800 over here. Well, maybe this one's offering you a better rate. And sometimes you might get a lender that you're going, hey, this is the best rate I can find, but it might be a horrific experience.
Yeah.
Or maybe both, you might go, hey, I got a great rate and I had a great experience. Could be that too. But yeah, from one bank to another, their level of risk that they're willing to take on. And you got to realize most people have all different things going on. Your credit score might be this. A bank might find you to be a different level of risk versus the next one, so they might offer you a better interest rate, and
They have different data.
mhm.
Yeah, I found some to be like one of the best like professionals I've worked with in terms of like loan officer, but also I've met a lot of snake oil salesmen.
Yeah.
Where we're like, hey, I can get you this,
Yeah.
and then you look at the details, you're like, holy shit,
Yeah.
like this is a terrible deal. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of scamming out there in that type of.
There is. I mean, you gotta, and that's where, if you're working with a good professional realtor, sometimes having somebody that deals with lenders and customers that are getting financing on a day-to-day basis, you might be able to just go, hey, does this sound right to you? Does this seem good? And then you're going to be able to get advice. It's like I said, it's another set of eyes, another resource that you can ask questions, or maybe you're asking certain questions and they can turn around and give you the information that you need to be able to ask the right questions. Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, you might have a great realtor and you run into another realtor that's not so great. It's an industry that has, it's a free market where, there's different experiences, different costs associated with different lenders too. Whether that be, hey, I'm a number in the file versus a customer, from that experience versus interest rates might be different. Loan origination fees might be different, and some are able to close faster than others. You might go get your financing from a local credit union, and they're going, hey, at a minimum, we need 60 days to close. And you might be going, that's not going to work for me. I have to close in 30. Okay, well, then we need to find a lender that can do it in 30. So there are different levels of, and different resources that you're going to be able to get from one lender to another. And it might not just be cost perspective. From a cost perspective, it might actually be timing that you need, maybe you're going to even go to something like a portfolio lender where, it's not going to be subject to, conventional Fannie Mae guidelines, where you need it to be more specific on what the risk tolerance is with that bank specifically because you're borrowing directly from them.
So you're talking about like a loan shark, right?
Well, I mean, it could be a loan shark, but it could just be a private bank that's going to lend and not going to sell off your loan to a secondary market necessarily. They're going to keep a loan in-house and they're going to look at the individual project or the individual home, and sometimes there's higher interest rates factored into that. But maybe you're able to get around some of the regulations and guidelines that are required with a conventional loan by going into something like a portfolio loan, which basically you're getting into hard money, from a hard money lender.
And though that kind of money isn't subject to those regulations. Because...
No, it's usually subject to more specific to what the bank's requirements are.
Which
so it's private money. It's that individual bank's money that they're lending out versus being subject to Fannie Mae guidelines.
And the Fannie Mae guidelines are for banks that get their money from where?
So basically, at the end of the day, they're getting it from large federal institutions,
right?
And
how come I can't get my loan from a federal institution?
Well, you might be getting money that's coming through that, but
and a lot of that changed after 2008, right, with the subprime mortgage.
Yeah,
market.
I mean, there was different rules and regulations, and that gets into more stuff specifically. Mm-hmm. You could go on with conversations for a long time, but that might be more specific to, it might be guidelines to where that you can't just come in and say, hey, I make X amount of money and therefore you should just loan me some money.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you used to be able to come in and say things like that more. Hey, I make $100,000 a year and, okay, great. Sign here, here's your money. So it's not that easy anymore. And it's good. It's a good thing because it regulates the industry and doesn't allow, as many bad loans and so forth to be written.
Right. So if like I say, I work with Bank of America, mm-hmm. who gives conventional loans for houses. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Okay. They're probably getting some money from the Federal Reserve in the U.S. or who?
So they have their own money, but banks are always selling loans back and forth to each other based on risk tolerance and so forth.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you close on a loan with them, literally, minutes after the loan's closed, it's already sold off to another institution. It's always, banks are always trying to balance out risk, associated with loans and so forth. So, that gets into a kind of a complex process.
Yeah, that was one of the things that that wasn't really a selling point, but it was something that was kind of cool. Where with my bank, which they like guarantee that the loan stays with the bank. They said it's guaranteed to never be sold off to another bank or institution.
Yeah, and that might just be how they're working.
Well, I want the rate that the Fed's setting. Because I heard the
banks got to make money.
Yeah, what was it? The Treasury Secretary, I think her last name's Yellen. She was testifying in court, not in court. She was in a hearing, and some senators were asking her questions like, "Should we keep increasing the U.S. debt?" And she said, "Well, technically, if you can borrow a loan at almost 0% interest, then it's beneficial to use that money." Which, yeah, we can argue like a bunch of different ways on how that goes, what you're using the money for, but. How do I get that? You know what I mean? Like, why is the U.S. getting almost 0%?
But you gotta realize it starts from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And the banks have to make money, so it becomes a free market where banks are able to get money at a certain rate, and they're going to loan you out money at a certain rate.
Yeah.
But
where are they getting the money from that certain rate?
Federal Reserve.
Yeah. How come I can't get it directly from them?
It cut out the bank.
Yeah. Like they're slapping on like another 1% interest.
It's just like the brokers, the real estate brokers.
Yeah, but you got to realize that's just the way it works. I mean, that's
yeah.
It's still, hey, why can't I go buy directly from the
car manufacturer?
Yeah. It's because
why not?
Because it creates an industry.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. That's why there's laws in Florida to where you have to hang your license because it came to a point where brokers were like, "Oh shit, you could go to a."
It's more than that too. You got to realize from that standpoint, it's also by creating regulations that allow people to perform a certain way, and follow rules that are structured within the industry.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to it. That's a pro that you pointed out, but a con would be that now there's an entire complex, like a real estate industrial complex, that's there to lobby against the customer and Congress by putting in certain laws and regulations. Keep the realtors in check. Right?
You gotta realize it's more than that. It's controlling levels of inflation. So it's more than just hey, this is the interest rate and this is what it costs. By having regulations and being able to manipulate those numbers, you're also able to help control certain things in the environment. And one of the things they're talking about as far as raising rates is to help fight off of inflation.
Yeah.
You just lobbied for unions, man. That's exactly what unions say.
Don't you think? Don't you think that's a little? What was it? A couple years ago, we were accusing China of manipulating their currency, right?
Okay.
We do that.
Everybody.
We do that. Yeah. So why are we accusing other countries of doing it?
Because
we literally do that.
Because we have to make them look bad.
You're talking outside the field of my expertise.
I know this has nothing to do with this. Yeah. But I'm angry about it.
You sound angry, Myles.
Yeah,
I'm just pissed
He's trying
off.
to bring down the patriarchy of capitalism.
Look, I'm just pissed off that we have no control over this situation and these couple of
We do.
people.
It's called elect the people that you want to help make these
But
decisions.
what if there are no people to elect that will make the decisions that you want?
Then
then I guess we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's where we are.
We can all agree we're
that's
a little
why
in
I'm
trouble.
pissed.
We're all a little in trouble, that's for sure. Yeah.
Oh, well. Sorry.
Yeah, you just got to play the game, I guess.
Derailed it.
Yeah.
You went off on a tangent.
Miles just leaves a little bit.
Miles is on a tangent.
Well, it's just Zach and I, guys, and we're going to be talking about real estate. Shit. Well, I guess we can wrap this up. ZachSellsNaples.com, right? That's
Appreciate
your
it.
website.
I think
do
we
appreciate
just hit the tip of the iceberg. You probably have so much more knowledge on things that we
Yeah.
didn't even talk about.
I do have a lot of knowledge, but at the same time, the industry is always changing. So there's always room to grow and learn more. So
Yeah. Appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah, appreciate
We had
it
a
for
great
having me.
weekend with you and Vince and Nick. And
I'm looking forward to going back to the warmer weather.
yeah, I know, right? Well, we'll be here for next year when you want to come out and snowboard
two,
again.
2 degrees versus 85, 90.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Exactly. Well, thanks for listening in, people. Thanks for watching. Until next time, adios.